What's up, guys? We are live on GBR as we are every single week, every single Tuesday, 5 Eastern, 4 Central Time, September 19th, 2023. Right now, man, we're in the middle of this big old swing of big-time bracket races. We're getting ready to talk a whole lot about them. But first, we got to thank TSR Racing Products for your Power Glides, Turbo 350s, Turbo 400, 727 transmission parts, accessories, full transmissions, manuals if you want to do it yourself. Anything you need, go to TSR Racing Products and get that handled. BRG 3D printed parts, anything you can't find anywhere else, Brian Garrett can print it up. High quality plastics and polymers, latest CAD software. I saw him printing some stuff a little bit earlier today, George. He's always got something going on. Contact Brian Garrett for any kind of needs you can't get handled. If you got one of those little ECUs that you got going on, those fancy ones now, the ones like I'm putting in my fast car now, you can get Brian Garrett those dimensions and he can print you up something that's going to fit real nice, look real clean in that dash. CenTex Printing out there in Temple, Texas, of course. For the shirt that I believe George might have on right now, get you some stickers, get you some shirts, get you some brochures, anything you need. Contact CenTex Printing out there in Temple, Texas. We all know you guys got businesses out there. You need some products. You need any kind of things out there for trade shows. You know, PRI is coming up. You might need something from Greg over there at CenTex Printing. Driven racing oil. We still got some racing left in the season, and that weather is cooling off. And if you're running methanol, you know how that oil milks. Driven racing oil won't do that to you. Use the code GBR10, get yourself 10% off. $99 and above is delivered for free to your door. Don't forget to use the code GBR10. Save you a little bit of money for those entry fees for these races coming up. Proform Parts. Visit proformparts.com for your carburetors, alternators, starters, radiators, distributors, tools. They got some really nice AN wrenches that I was using the other day. Man, I had to make me a new fuel line for my carburetor. It decided to leak, and those AN wrenches make it a whole lot easier to mess with. You don't have to use that 7/8 and gar them all up, man. And of course, we got to thank Crew Chief Pro Software. We're talking about all that weather changing, man. Don Higgins will get you in order and figure out what your car's going to run whenever that weather changes. Go to crewchiefpro.com and get all that stuff figured out so you don't have to do it the hard way. But George, we're back. The OG Million never disappoints. It wasn't the hectic, well, it was kind of hectic, but it wasn't the way that it was, you know, a few years ago, man. So I guess first, before we get into all that stuff, what have you been up to, man?
Not much, man. Just pecking away, working my regular job, getting GBR Media up and going. Have a look at the Facebook page this week. You might catch a stream coming out of Tulsa area, so be ready to watch some drag racing. We do got a few things. Motor Mania's got it going. GBR Media's got something going. We got some racing to watch, Casey. So definitely just staying at it, man. Just keep plugging away. Enjoyed myself quite thoroughly last week, as I know we're about to get into.
Yeah, man, we might as well get right into it, and the topic that everybody wants to talk about, which is the OG Million, something that we always talk a lot about as far as being the race that you want to win, and if anything, just be a part of. It's the U.S. Nationals of the bracket racing series as far as top bulb categories go, man. It was moved to St. Louis, which is something that we have talked about on this channel for probably since the inception of the channel, how we thought that the OG Million should go to St. Louis. It's an area that's very easy to get to. It's an area that is, it's not so far for a lot of people. For example, someone like Cooper Chung, Vancouver, Washington. I mean, it's literally right by Canada. There's not a lot of places further from where the OG Million typically is than Vancouver, Washington. He was even there. 680 entries in the warm-up, 774 entries in the 50s surrounding the big race, 471 in the big race, so it didn't break the record, but definitely was still up there, paid $590,000 to win. We'll get into the whole winning and stuff like that here in a second, man, but why was the turnout so big for this race in your opinion?
Casey, man, again, let me throw a little disclaimer. We had a lot of action on Going Bracket Racing this past weekend. Thank you to everybody who liked and shared our post. Man, they reached out over almost 200,000 people got reached by a few of those posts. That can't happen without the GBR community. So a little backstory here. Casey and I grew up at Worldwide Technologies Raceway, formerly Gateway International Raceway. We have been saying for many years that the Gateway, St. Louis, Mississippi River, whatever you want to call it, is the center location and an intersecting point for a lot of our racers in our sport. And that's going to be number one reason. And we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I think there's multiple things that play into why this was as big of a race as what it was. But that's the first one that I'm going to mention, Casey, and I'll let you mention yours, and we can kind of go back and forth. It's just so many interstates that intersect right there, so many different ways in and out of that place that draw not only the local racer of that area, racers from all over the place.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, it's just not only is it an easy location to get to because like 5 major interstates intersect. I'm not talking about just in St. Louis. They literally happen right by the track. Like literally right there within 5 minutes of the racetrack. So it is literally easy for anyone in this country to get there because, again, as we've said a million times, St. Louis is the original main hub for distribution for the United States. You know, so it's all the interstates go there. And ultimately, not only, for example, I know Luke Bogak, he said on Sportsman Drag Racing podcast last week, man, a lot of people don't want to race with this many entries. That's not true in St. Louis because in St. Louis, let's say, okay, they canceled buybacks, which we'll get into a little bit later. There's 774 entries. Okay, 10 minutes down the road, there's every restaurant you could ever imagine. There's casinos, multiple casinos, not just a novelty one. There's a ton of casinos over there, boats. Well, they're buildings now, but somehow those big skyscrapers float. You know, they pump water in under them. It's kind of a racket deal, but it is what it is. The point is they're there. There's golfing there. It was great weather out there. If you're a golfer, it would have been a great time to go golfing. I think you said that there was a race going on or a track day or something in the circle track. How many times have we just literally walked over there, just walked up in the stands and watched that? The fact of the matter is there's so many things to do in downtown St. Louis, which is a hop, skip, and a jump from the racetrack. This no buyback thing might not have mattered to a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a true statement, Casey. And as you mentioned, a golf course, there's one right next to the racetrack. I mean, it's not like you got to go very far. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people saw that and at least understood, well, I mean, if things don't go our way, we can just kind of leave for a little bit and go hit the long ball. I mean, there's enough to do. Like you mentioned, the casinos are, I believe it's like 12 minutes from Gateway to in the Casino Lumiere place, which we frequented quite a bit ourselves. So, I mean, there's just a lot going on in that area. But why was it so successful? Number one, you got to take your hats off, and I'm going to do a better job of this as a community. The people behind the OG, number one, the clerks, the whoever's doing the paperwork, who's taking the tech cards. Obviously, it had to have been great because I didn't read in this era on Facebook, social media, wherever you go to get your junk news. I didn't read one negative comment. So that has to mean that everything works well. Not just the promoter putting on the race, not just the people behind that promoter who are working the event, making it to where all of the racers have a fun experience in and out of lines quicker than most places, things of that nature. And hats off to the track. Gateway has always been a good facility. And seemingly they have people in place to run that thing just as you and I remember it growing up, Casey. So there's another reason as to why this race went off well, why so many people visited this place. On top of that, why so many people who watched that Motor Mania stream now have this particular race. If it wasn't there before, I don't see it leaving Gateway for quite some time. And now you have the thought process of, man, that track looked pretty doggone cool. I got to take myself to that race next year.
And the great part about this whole deal, man, it was before the race even kicked off. We were talking about the fact that the best part about Gateway is whatever race car you have, you can bring to Gateway. I mean, if you wanted to bracket race a nitro funny car, you could run it at Gateway. It's a national event facility. You have plenty of room to stop. I mean, it's like a mile top to bottom from the burnout box to the sand trap at Gateway. There are not many people that run off the end of that track that aren't nitro cars. And ultimately, man, it's great for Folk Promotions too, because they're up there in Durand, Illinois, which is towards the Chicago area, the northern Illinois area. It might be like halfway between Springfield and Chicago, somewhere like that. But it's a good location for them. They've spent a lot of time there. I know Nick Folk, Brian Folk, Randy Folk. They've always raced there for the Megabucks series. They know that place inside and out. And let's not forget about, speaking of Folk Promotions, let's not forget about the Racer Appreciation, which was unexpected, where they gave out like $28,000. How did that work? Do you know how that worked?
I feel like they drew 28 tech cards, I believe.
I only 1,000.
So I'm not 100% sure of what number went to each person, so don't get me lying. Maybe I should have done a little bit more homework. My apologies, GBR community. I'll come a little bit more prepared. You know we don't script this, so I didn't expect that question. All right, but I want to say I remember TJ Pruitt calling out 28 names, something of that nature, and random tech card draws, how they figured out, Obviously, the race was well attended, and obviously with something called, I believe it was like the Racers Appreciation Giveaway or something like that. And hey, man, that was so awesome. I wouldn't be shocked if that happened again. We might turn that in, or I won't say we. It'll probably be a second annual, because I'm going to say it right now. They'll break the record next year. They will break the record of 400, I believe, 94 entries into the million. If not, and we can discuss this anytime you want to, if not, actually get to the 625 number or 626 in that range and pay a cool $1 million at Gateway. I will not be shocked if that happens.
And speaking of TJ, our buddy TJ Pruitt over here on DragCoverage, if you want to learn a little more about TJ, we interviewed him a little while back, and I was actually just texting him this morning because we're both into a bunch of Pro Charger stuff and talking back and forth about that type of stuff. But TJ Pruitt, great job with all the interviews. Of course, Ryan Gleghorn, Riggins, great job on the mic.
I heard Hank on it. Hank was out there.
Hank on it.
I heard the owner, I think maybe the owner of Muncie might have been on there too. I heard quite a few. And racers taking care of racers. Way to stick together as a crew and take care of that many cars going down the track. I heard several announcers out there.
8,082 passes, I believe they said. So, I mean, ultimately, man, bracket racing is not dead by far, obviously. This is a small percentage of the racers in the country that were at this track this weekend, and there's plenty of races going on this bracket racing swing, man. I don't even know what more to call it, but there's a lot of big money bracket racing coming up. But before we get into that, of course, George, the man of the hour, we got to talk about this guy. Donnie, I don't know, they kept calling him Hager.
Right.
Gleghorn kept calling him Hager, and I know he's buddies with everybody, so he probably knows how to say it. I want to call him Hagar because of Sammy. The Red Rocker. So we gotta call him Donnie Hagar to me. Hey. But dude, low budget. I mean, this is the epitome of low budget. This guy proves again, and it seems like somebody proves it every single year, but this guy proves it again. The most prestigious race in top bulb bracket racing is the OG Million. Not only did Donnie Hagar do it the way that bracket racing was intended, which is a guy that shows up with an open trailer, sleeps in a tent, shows up with a race car that is something you would have expected to be brand new and say probably 1995, 1990, something like that, shows that not only can he be competitive, because he didn't mosey his way through this race, George. Like he won these rounds.
That's right.
I mean, this guy was on the tree. He was 4 total in the semis. Even though Shane Carr was 1 red to him in the finals, he was 5 on the tree, man. Right. And this is no boxer, man.
Right.
And this car, when he wanted to go dead on, he was going dead on. When he wanted to hold a little, he was holding a little, and he was going dead on. And I just love when this happens more than anything, because it proves you don't need a lot of money to win these races. You don't need a lot of money to compete. There are guys there that have $1 million worth of stuff on that property, sometimes more. And this guy showed up with, I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to offend him for sure. And I don't think it will, because who really cares? But
Who cares?
this guy probably showed up with $25,000 worth of equipment and money to enter the OG million. He had money to only enter that race. And he entered that race, won the race, and now has legitimately the amount of money that could buy him a house,
Right. And Casey, man, we'll get into this too, because I see Lance Craft, and I also see Sugar Shane's better half. I'm pretty sure he'll pat me on the back for doing this for him. Kerry Carr's in the mix here. Kerry, man, you guys were on a good run there. Shane always doing what he does in the race car. It doesn't shock me that the name Carr was in the bottom. I have a feeling it's going to be Danger Dylan here pretty soon. Like father, like son. So she's saying that looks like the folks who run the race actually are from Bradenton, Florida, which is great. And then Durand, Illinois is where Folk Race Cars presides. So, of course, the folks make race cars at the same time. So thanks for that tidbit of information. But I was looking at Lance Craft's post here, and he says that he's back-to-back track champ at US 131. He says, I think he doubled up 3 weekends in a row this year. 3 weekends in a row to double up. He's a great guy at the same time. So, obviously, those comments and conversations that we've had for many years here on the Going Bracket Racing community about the local racer. Honestly, Donnie, I take my hat off to you. I didn't know your name until this weekend, but I'm sure everybody else knows your name as well based on what you just accomplished. Obviously, he's been a heavy hitter in his area based on a lot of people calling him Double O Donnie. I seen that. You said the Red Rocker. I seen that. Obviously, this guy is good in the sport and may not have ever been able to do it on this style of a scale. I love bracket racing for that reason. I also love, and this might make some people mad, there was no true start at that event. Keep it out of here.
Hey, it's we can go back and forth on that. We beat the dead horse on that deal, and we can talk about that maybe a little more in the winter when they're in something so important to talk about. But what I want to also mention is this another scenario where this guy is one of the guys who's smart enough to save his money to actually race versus what a lot of us do, including myself, dump all the money into the car and be like, man, I don't have any entry fee money anymore. I wish I could go to that race. There's something to be said for that, where guys are like, hey, man, you can have a basic car in Vegas, don't weigh that much anyway. You can have a very basic setup that is a very reliable setup that you don't have to rebuild every single season. And you can go 630s, 640s in a Vega type car. So, is this a scenario where someone is racing within their means and is overall just generally smarter about their racing program? Because, truth be told, that car probably won 10 times its value just now.
Sure.
And I mean, this is something that legitimately could change this guy's life because of how he races. There's a lot of cars out there that if they won $200,000 after the split, that's going to pay for the 2 dragsters they brought with them.
Sure.
This guy's, everything's paid off now.
Hey man. One thing I can say is I feel like, and I'll try my best, GBR, to get Donnie on this show probably in the wintertime when everything kind of calms down for him a little bit. I don't want to just knock on the door while everybody else is knocking, kind of be another person in line to get him an interview there. But seems as to me, you show up, you run the million. I believe that's the only event he showed up to run. And then he hung around and ran the next race. And then he wound up at Havana and raced that Central Illinois Dragway, which I expected a few more racers to actually do that. I don't know how many actually done it, but that's pretty neat. The Mother Nature said, hey, let's rain in Havana, but let's not mess up the OG. That way Havana can have a 14K the next day while everybody's on the way home. But he reminds me of a movie called For the Love of the Game, which was about baseball. And obviously, this guy does it for the love of the sport. And that's something that I really, really admire. just the story itself. I don't know him from Adam. I don't. But the story itself leads one to believe he does this for the love of the sport, and obviously that love paid off big time for him.
Absolutely, man. And this is actually a good question in the chat by a Nova fan here. What would you guys buy if you won $200,000? That's a good question, man. What do you do if you're Donnie Hagar in this moment? What's your plan with this $200,000? Where do you go with that? Because I want to say, I mean, he might be like 25, 26 years old or something. So let's talk about 25, 26 years old, George and Casey. So a different spot in your life, things like that. What do you buy? What do you buy to progress your racing program, I guess I should say?
Honestly, I've always been of this mind frame. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I probably don't buy anything for drag racing except maybe some new slicks if the car needs it. Maybe just the little the yearly maintenance things. If my engine needs freshened, well, I'm gonna go freshen it. But I've always been the style of a person to stay within my means, even once I have something, and then try to grow it. So business wise, probably a couple houses. Make me a few rentals. Put me a few rentals out there. That way I can have entry fee money from those rental houses to go and play like I want to play something, and that is 25, 26-year-old George. I mean, I've kind of been along the lines of wanting to get off into real estate for about that long anyway, if not before. So Casey, whatever I can do to make more money to then put money into bracket racing, that's what I'm going to do because I see the bigger picture. So I don't know. I don't know if I do it right, and who's to say if after I won it, all that goes out the window.
Dylan Champion over here is saying we're opening our shop. So me and Dylan and our buddy Adam have a hypothetical shop we talk about in a group text where it would basically make no money pretty much, and just it would just be a place to hang out more than anything, where it seems like we work all day. But I'd say that in my opinion, well, first, I personally need a golf cart. I actually got a couple golf carts that I need to fix, but I just don't have anywhere to fix them right now. So I'd probably go that route. And like you said, I'd save the money and invest it in such a way where hopefully it'll provide entry fees for the future.
Right.
I mean, think about it, man. All of us, doesn't matter where you live in the country. If you didn't have a house payment, you'd have a lot more money to go racing every single month.
Man, you ain't kidding. You ain't kidding. So, just think when if I'm just a fan of if I can make a little bit of income while sitting on this chair right here that we're talking on right now, I'm all for it. Anyway, Casey, man, it is a great point to head into a commercial, and we won't hold you guys in commercial long because we got a whole lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. Make sure to hit that like, that share, that follow, that whatever button is out there on whatever platform you're watching this on, either be it by the podcast form, YouTube, or Facebook. Hit that, show some love to the GBR community. It goes a long way. Hang in there, we'll be right back. BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts are able to provide you with whatever you desire to enhance your drag racing operation. Items like safety belt magnets, nitrous bottle holders, and even quick-release delay box mounts are able to be obtained from BRG Motorsports 3D printer racing parts. Have a look at top-selling items such as helmet hooks and steering wheel hooks, which are proven to make it easier to maneuver throughout your race car. You can contact BRG Motorsports 3D printer racing parts at telephone number 765-729-1177.
TSR Racing Products has everything you need to make your Power Glide Turbo 350, Turbo 400, and 727 transmissions the best they can be on the street or at the track. With exceptional products, customer service, and over 30 years of experience, TSR Racing Products is always available to help their customers with any of their transmission needs. In-house machining ensures you only receive the best products from TSR Racing. Visit TSR Racing Products at tsr-racing.com or give them a call at 800-394-5889.
Unleash your horsepower with Proform Super Street aluminum roller rockers. Utilize the latest cutting-edge manufacturing and design processes. The dual contoured body design allows for more rigidity with a greater strength-to-weight ratio, increasing engine power. Super Street aluminum roller rockers are available for a variety of applications and specs for Chevy, GM, and Ford, including pedestal mount, as well as a Chrysler shaft mount style rockers. On the strip or the street, Proform has you covered.
All right. Welcome back, Going Bracket Racing community. Thanks for joining us on every Tuesday, right here at Going Bracket Racing. Thanks to our sponsors. Marketing partners, I should say. Can't do it without Driven Racing Oil, Proform Parts, Crew Chief Pro, CenTex Printing, Ken Jones Performance, Team 14 Motorsports, TSR Racing Products, BRG Motorsports 3D printed parts, and those guys over at Your Ad Here. If you like what you hear, you like what you see, want to be a part of the community, get your items, your things out there. I hear they got the best customer service in the market right now, and especially in a time in which customer service has kind of gone out of the window in some spaces. Those Going Bracket Racing boys, George and Casey, I don't know if you've ever met those guys before. They do a pretty good job at giving you just that excellent customer service. So thanks for being with us today. Let's get back at it, Casey. I was talking to you during the commercial break. Where are we going next? I know we aren't scripted. You know we aren't scripted. Go ahead, lay it on me, man.
Well, the next thing I wanted to get into, and one of our longtime followers was heavily involved with this conversation. Let's talk about the no buyback scenario, man, because this seems like it's happening more and more. At these big races, and some people like it, some people don't like it. Jimmy Nobles, he was talking about on here. I don't think he'll mind me saying anything about it because he was obviously talking about it on there. Everybody knows about it. It says his name, but and he had some good points. Due to the large car count at the OG Million, during the 50s and I want to say the 20s also, or the V20, the warm-up race. They canceled the buybacks because ultimately, if we had buybacks, then we got a round of, say, 774 cars twice versus, which they do a re-entry round, but it's same thing, pretty much. So ultimately, the way that they did it, they canceled buybacks. And Jimmy's point, which is a valid point, why did we cancel buybacks? Why didn't we have buybacks? And then just make it, say, 275s rather than 350s. Now, I can see it both ways. On one hand, if you don't have buybacks, then in my mind, I would rather have no buybacks and then have an extra race versus combining them to 275s. That's just me. Everybody has their own opinion. I also like the fact of no buybacks because it allows for people to not have 4 chances to get to second round. Now bottom line, they have 2. If that's the most you can do, you can double enter. So I guess before we go even deeper into this, what's your opinion on the no buybacks, not the no buybacks, but the canceling buyback situation?
Yeah, it's I'm reading some comments here. It's the best scenario in bracket racing out of Quez the Duck. Honestly, it's a scenario that I'm proud to say in my sport we have a issue to where there's an overabundance of something happening. Participation is high. I hope this for every single promoter that does the gig. I don't care if you're big. I don't care if you're small. I don't care if you're middle. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a local race, a 5-grander. I want you to be busting out of the seams at every single race that you host. Okay. That being said, my stance, and I'm pretty black and white when it comes to things like this. And in my opinion, right now there isn't a gray area to play in, but I think it needs to be created, as I'm pretty sure you and I are going to talk about. If it's on the flyer and it says buybacks, in my opinion, and in Jimmy Noble's defense, where I did read a couple of his comments, I read a few others. It's just that Jimmy was pretty adamant about the fact that, we've traveled a long way. Some of us don't have the ability to double. Some of us just rely on the buyback as the second go. Maybe we do have the ability to double. We still rely on the buyback. Now, I err on the side of the flyer. Go ahead, Casey.
Right. Well, I was just going to say, now I could see that. I agree with that until the point that we're saying, like, for example, if we're going to one race, right? If there's one race, we're racing on Saturday and that's it. 100% totally sympathize with that comment as far as it's on the flyer, why are we not doing it? However, when we have multiple days and the options are we're going to either race until, which Gateway doesn't have a curfew as far as I've ever known. It's in the middle of interstates, so why would it?
Right.
The closest thing to it is a gas station that sells beer until 2 a.m, and then they start again at 6. So I mean, it's you know that area, George. That isn't a nice area as far as that's why the racetrack's still there. But that all aside, the point is that when we're racing for 4 days, I don't mind so much about there being no buybacks, because I would rather, like I said, have a third race rather than combine it to 2, because I came there wanting to race 3 days, 3 races. So that's my opinion on it. Now, this goes back to, if you're a longtime follower of GBR, you've heard me come up with this idea a couple times. And what I think, maybe some of these big races, because they're having so much attendance, that really the only proper way to do it anymore, it seems like, is like Peter Biondo did for the Spring Fling, which is 1 driver, 1 entry, rather than being able to double. Now, I understand why you need to have doubles, because you need to have twice the money so you can pay these monstrous purses. But rather than canceling buybacks, I think we should do my idea. And as far as I know, me and you are the only ones that have ever talked about this, which is, if you're a double entry, then you don't have the option for a buyback. If you're a single entry, you do. And your gamble is, okay, I'm going to double enter because I'm Corey Galletti and I think I'm good enough to be able to have 2 options, or two entries going into second round, which is my advantage. Now, Corey could also lose both of them first round, he's screwed. Whereas Casey could go there, say I single enter, I lose first round, crap, I lost first round, I ran the wrong guy, I buy back, now I'm in second round.
Right.
So I think that is a good route to go at these major races. What do you think?
Yeah. And I'm reading some comments here, definitely out of Jeff Bonifield. We know Jeff was on the premises, and there were no complaints at this race. So thanks for the racers buying into the decision that the folks inevitably had to make in the first place. That many cars going down the racetrack, you guys were not going to finish that race with 7, 8, 9 hour first round, and then buyback round. That's going to take quite a bit of time to then run half of that 7, 8, 9 hour round from the first round all over again, right? So there's not enough time in a day to do that. So hats off to you guys for making a tough decision. At the same time, that buybacks equal money. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Everybody here can do the math on what a buyback would cost and what they said we can't take. Okay, so wasn't for lack of having to use quite a bit of thought, right? And anybody who has to do it has to put that much thought into it, right?
Speaking of that, buybacks equal money. That's what I want to talk about, but I want to say this comment here. Quez the Duck, if you rely on a buyback, you didn't plan on winning, in my opinion. That option is great, but if I suck and I get beat, try again tomorrow. I agree with that. Now,
I disagree. Quez, man, let me tell you why. Because if you paid attention to that OG Million, there were a lot of people who were sub 10, sub 12, 13, 15, 001, take something that still lost. I don't know. So, in a sense, you didn't suck, but you still got loaded up. That's the level of competition that is at this type of a race. I said it once last week. I'll say it again. I got into an argument with a guy over Peeps Pennington being 1 on the tree and taking 22 and getting a loss. And I said 99% of the time that ought to win the race. Well, my percentages have now dropped to about 51.5. All right. So, hey, if you ain't 15 total, even if you are 15 total, you might be in a world of trouble out here, man. You hear me? So that buyback does help. There's a such thing as pulling into the lanes wrong, you know.
Oh yeah,
it's a thing out here. So that is the only reason why I would say, you know, that buyback is crucial to some. But Casey, you said it already, and going back to that thought about double entries, you don't get a buyback anymore. You don't get one. And I don't even want to restrict it to 2. You don't get a buyback, period, for the sake of speeding up the race, making sure we keep money in the pocket of the promoter, which is obviously very important to this sport. If they don't put on the race, we not racing. Okay, so put the money in their pocket if we can do so. All right. I'm not a promoter either, guys. I don't do promotions. All right. If I did, I would still do the GBR show, but my bank account or my race car operation could possibly be a little bit better, as seemingly promotion is a pretty good business to be in right now. Okay, so go ahead.
Well, how many people also, because there was no buybacks, now had the money to, because when you go racing, when you go to a race like this, we're going to be there for 5 days, you go with buyback money, because you're not going to go all the way out there and then be like, man, I'm not going to bring any money to buy back. Now, how many people could enter the million, could enter the OG, the big race, because they didn't spend it on buybacks because they had no choice and they intended on spending it anyway? Because I can tell you right now, if I went there, I probably would have done that. I would have been like, I planned on spending the money anyway. I'm here already. It's a bucket list item for someone like me to run the OG million. One day I'm going to run it. That would have been the best opportunity for someone like me to be like, to justify spending the big entry fee to run the OG million.
I mean, it's no question about it, Casey. And honestly, man, it's hard for me to stick to my black and white, but let me explain the gray. Let's put some gray in this bad boy. On that flyer, and I'm pretty sure this probably will spread like wildfire between all of the promoters. Give you a number, give a fail-safe number that says, if you know how on Micro Machines we used to listen to that commercial and he would be all slow with his comments. Get this Micro Machine. It's awesome. Please read the back. Whatever the heck we got to do to put that on the flyer and be like, if we reach 500 if we reach 650 entries in the warm-up races to the million, there will not be buybacks allowed at the warm-up. But to make it good and to give you a shot, here's $25 off your second entry. I mean, the one day was like $250, and I want to say buybacks were $350. Am I wrong about that? So
I'm not sure about that.
I don't know the numbers, but I feel like I'm somewhere in the realm. I could be way off. Somebody help me if I'm wrong there. But hey, man, that's the way I feel about the buybacks, and it's gonna be an issue, and I'm glad it's an issue going forward. Pete Biondo said for the fall fling, heck, we ain't doing it. We ain't having buybacks. Come on, we done sold this joker out anyway. You know, good luck finding an entry.
In 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Good luck finding an entry. I seen a few on Facebook, but I want to tell you they probably lasted for like 30 seconds and they were gobbled up. So, I mean, good luck getting in. I got a comment over here, and Casey, this might be a little off subject. I hadn't read it yet, but it's out of Jalen Whitmore. Got a chance to watch him drive the old Skeet 10. That's old Chad Sandlin's S10 truck, man. Jalen, hopefully you're not bit by the old Door Trucks rule bug, but you might be. Let's see here real quick from him. I had a few more come in. I got to scroll up. How about the time slip app available to everyone, having a slight effect on the cutthroat? Hold on. I lost him. Hold on. Cutthroat competition. Not to say it's the reason it was so brutal out there. Oh my goodness, too many comments coming in. I'm sorry. Not to say it's the reason it was so brutal out there, because it was the best of the best to do it. George. Wow, it keeps moving. Stop. I can't say stop sending comments. hold on a second. I can't read it. George, you know how cutthroat I-30 Dragway was when the app was available. I like to hear the mixed emotions about it in the pits. Lots of people talking about the app. Casey, let's talk about it, because we did hear Gateway either they flew somebody in there or had some renovations done on the actual paper ticket, the ability to give a paper ticket. This is off subject, but let's do what we do. Do we need to get rid of that time slip app?
Man, I don't think so. I think it's more engaging for as far as the spectator goes, as far as like, I know I'm not talking about a spectator sitting and saying spectator. I'm talking about people like us, because don't forget, we can download that app, which I did, and you can see everybody's run. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yep.
Not to mention, obviously, saves track a little bit of money. You don't have to have an employee handing that out. You don't have to have the time slip machines, which do go down every once in a while. However, I do agree with kind of what he said as far as the cutthroat thing, because you'll remember back in the day at Gateway, the announcer was Radical Rich. Remember him?
Oh yeah,
Radical Rich. Whenever he'd get on there and start announcing, man, remember Junior McCabe dominated that. Went, man, Junior was 7 total here. Oh man, he just came back around. Now he's 12 total here. And people start redlining. People start hitting it hard. And Dad and Jim Simmons and Rodney Schaefer and Ken Jones and all, your dad, Big George, Big Tony, everybody used to always say, man, when Radical gets on the mic, people start hitting it harder because they think they need to.
Yep.
Well, let me tell you this, George, and I don't think this will be a looked at me sideways. Hunter Patton did not have those insane runs. Hunter, his thing was he could get back to dead on all the time. He could hold as much as he wants, get back to dead on. He's a great driver. But Hunter Patton, by his lights, if you look at his lights he had, he shouldn't even have been in third round that day that he won, but he made it happen himself.
Nope.
You know, that's skill that allows you to win that race, because he was not in a position he should have won, but he made it happen.
He did make it happen. That's a story for another day, Casey. We definitely probably need to have that conversation here on GBR about how these racers are able to get back to dead on so consistently, which seemingly was happening at Gateway, especially when you have a track like Gateway that generally that track doesn't leave you unless it's either super, super hot, and even then, when it cools off, man, that thing gonna hook like no other. So that surface is good, but I have to be honest with you. I've used that racing app to my advantage. I want to say one time I raced Jason Lynch. Hey, Jason, if you're listening, I'm sorry that I'm telling you this, but I saw your car number and went on the racing app and saw your mile an hour and knew you were going to pull on me a little bit different than what I was expecting for somebody who was dialed slower than me. So the race played out in front of me based on my ability to be able to see that app. There's going to be a lot of people on here who post, go back to paper. I'm one of them. I do like the ability to be able to sit at home like I did this past weekend, put in my dad's number, my uncle's number, and my cousin's number because they were all competing, and be able to see their reaction times, their splits, all of that. That part is fun. I wish 1320 Go would get back together though. Just get back at it, 1320, and put it on a web page as opposed to an app. Simply because in the lanes, when you draw that opponent, you do have the ability to pull out the old gadget and say, oh, he just did this.
But
okay.
That being said, there's also a lot of people that look at that app and they get in their own head about, oh, man, this guy's been 8 or better the last 5 runs, you know, and then they try to hit it hard and red light. Or so it can screw you up just as it can screw you up just as easy as it can help you. But you can, like you said, you could verify, yes, Lynch is running high gear only right now. That's the only way he can run 6 flat at 115 mile an hour.
And more than that, because it was probably like 120 something. I'm like, oh,
yeah, generic numbers just getting thrown out here.
I'm faster than him, and here I'm wet. Right. I'm out here on him. I'm like, oh, this dude ain't catching me, and here he comes.
Best case scenario, it's always a 63 Corvette Roadster. They'll have a throttle stop on every once in a while, and you'll be like, how's that guy dialed 640? How's that working out? Because that thing doesn't weigh anything. He could have a 350 in there and run 640, you know? I guarantee you it's not a 350 in there.
It's true. No, man, you know, there's a lot of mixed emotions in the chat here. I can see the app is good and bad. I see a lot of people saying get rid of it. Absolutely needs to be only one way you can see your time slip only. Tyler Stein, that's spot on, man. Yeah, dude, I got mixed emotions on that as well. So yeah, I see it both ways. I have used it to my advantage, however.
But
I got to go back here. Hold on, Casey. Hold on.
Okay.
Because we ain't done this yet, and we got 15 minutes before 5 before my kids get ready to run in this house and make a lot of noise. Say bye-bye to True Start. Why do I say that? Because door cars swept the weekend. I don't care about this evening out. This whole thought process. Well, they didn't sweep it because Hunter Patton actually came back and won that last day, right? Talk to me about the door car pandemic, epidemic, whatever you want to call it. Door cars to the front. They're running everything, Casey. So do we really? I mean, you were trying to give the advantage to the faster car, but obviously that ain't working either. Okay, True Start ain't evening out nothing.
It's rare that there's a True Start victory. I think that really the thing about the door car scenario, what's your average door car driver look like? Let's not look at the winner's circle this weekend, but your average door car driver he's got a gray mustache, gray beard.
Not according to Chris Galletti with the open helmet and the shave. He was shaved up clean. The boy did that dry hop. I lost my mind when he did that.
Well, what I'm saying, if you see a door car that's dialed 580 to 650, typically, I would say 70% of those guys have been running that same car at that same speed for probably 30 years. And in a scenario where you're racing over the course of 20 hours or multiple days, things like that, that old guy knows what the car is going to run. He knows what the weather feels like. He knows the humidity picked up. He knows exactly how that's going to affect that race car because it's always been the same. And he's been running it since before. A lot of these, there are guys that have ran door cars longer than Hunter Patton's been alive. You know what I'm saying? True. So, I mean, ultimately, there's just people like Steve Pearson, a person that we know, has that old Vega. He's had that car forever, man. A guy out here, Sean Carpenter, one of the best door car racers in the country, period. Always has been. That dude's been running that car, I think, for like 20 to 25 years. These guys know their car in and out. They know what it sounds like when this happens, what it feels like. Oh, it chattered the tires a little right here at this particular track. It's done that. Last time it did that, it did this. There's a lot to be said for running the same car for seemingly forever.
Sure. Hey, all I know is door cars are actually, if we're looking at it, and I'm not trying to pull AO SR1 calling out the young guns here. I'm trying to say I'm not trying to put door cars in the bullseye. But seemingly, these door cars are getting real hard to deal with. Running the number, can't hardly judge on them. I don't want to be able to say what the reason is. I don't know what the reason is. But door cars seem to be, and not to mention Footbrakers at that. Nick Hastings and Donnie take big checks away from a big race off the bottom. Okay, door cars, baby, door cars.
Well, and the thing is with the door car, going back to that comment, you can run so many different classes with it. A dragster can run Super Comp, Top Dragster, Bracket Race. That's it. Whereas you have any door car, I don't know if they allow chassis cars in Super Street anymore because that's the Scotty Richardson rule, I'm pretty sure. But if you have a back half door car, you can run Super Gas, you can run Super Street, you can run Super Stock, you can run No Prep, you can run Bracket Racing, you can run Big Money Bracket Racing, you can run Foot Brake, Top Bulb, depending on what it is, you can run street. Yeah, you can drive it to go get ice cream.
Whatever.
There's just, it goes back to what we were talking about at the very beginning of this entire show, which is Donnie Hagar did it right where he didn't blow his budget on the race car. He made the race car good, and he said, I'm going to pay the entry fees now. I'm going to spend that extra money on the entry fees because Nasty Nick did the same thing. Nasty Nick doesn't have a high-end racing operation either.
I'm pretty sure Donnie Hagar, if he hadn't said it, he will say it. Thanks to the Lord for the skills that you have given me, because the kid's good too. So right. Put yourself in a good situation with a car that's going to repeat the numbers, probably running on methanol, as it's predictable. but that's just how it works for me, Thank you for your skills that you've given me, and now I've had this ability to win this race. So I'm looking at Kevin Grider here saying door cars can race anywhere, but dragsters are picky. I'll add to that, KG. Door cars can race anywhere, but dragsters sometimes don't have enough shutdown area. Okay, so there's another thing. There's a lot of these shorter tracks out here. Maybe that could be contributing to you know what I mean, contributing to door cars' emergence to the top, and the slower door cars at that, seemingly.
Unless you're David Burr Jones, you're not going to haul a dragster on an open trailer.
Well, Well, we know Dave Bird Jones. He'll haul a
He
drag.
doesn't care.
Really, no.
But-
He going to the racetrack. I don't care what's
But the-
going on.
Right, but the facts are is that it is just everything is easier with a door car. I know I've driven dragsters a ton. I've had dragsters for a long, long time. And ultimately, the fact of the matter is, if you have a back half door car, you don't have to unhook your truck to unload it. You don't have to even have a enclosed trailer. The car, if it starts raining, you can leave it out there, shut the door, depending on how well it's sealed up. I mean, it's just everything as a whole is so much easier with a door car. And generally, at the end of the day, they're a lot cheaper because there are a lot of door cars that in the 80s and 90s and previous to that, that had a MIG welder and some welding skills and built it in his garage. And that guy is not Tim McAmis, even though I'm sure Tim McAmis started that way too.
Yep.
But if you buy anything that says McAmis on it, it's going to be $100,000. But if you buy something with, random Joe Schmo's name on it, it might be $15,000 running, and it'll be competitive at any race you go to.
Wow. Now you were talking Steve Pearson. I see he must have broke something up at D3 at the D3 race this past weekend. He had parts and fixed it at Indy. He fixed it up there. He says he broke ring gear. And then right above that, I see Shane Carr chimed in with True Start and a big old thumbs down.
Yeah. Well, Shane's always driving those fast cars.
Yeah,
I'm surprised he wasn't in that Pro Charge car this weekend, because this would have been the weekend to uncork it.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, you got anything you want to do out there at Gateway? So, Casey.
Hey, man, I got to tell you, I really did think that this was Shane's double up year. Because, dude, that guy is probably, and I think I've seen in the chat over here, and I agree with it. I don't know. I'm not going to scroll back through it. But Shane Carr is probably the best hired gun out there, period, right now. I mean, that dude he wins races, but he is always in the split. And he's not at just 16 car split. I mean, he's in the finals. People forget about the fact Shane Carr runners up, it seems like, almost every single big race there is. And he's finally going to break through, I feel like, here in the next couple weeks. And I know he's won earlier this year, but
yeah, he's got
all these big races,
I believe. Yep.
Dude, I've said it a million times. If I could never win another race again and trade that for being in the big split at all these big races, Shane comes out on top above a lot of these people that win these races, and nobody ever realizes it. But that dude is by far one of the best people out there right now racing that people seemingly forget about because he's not either in the winner's circle or out first round. Shane is always in the split, always.
Almost like a Where's Waldo type of deal there. Except it's Where's Shane. Well, he back there. You just better not forget he's back there. You
don't know what car he's in.
Yeah, buddy, you got to find him. And you said hired gun. I know he's a hired gun, but you ain't gonna be able to hire him. He's wrapped up. I'm pretty sure somebody has hired him for the life of his racing experience. So pretty awesome though. This is pretty awesome, guys.
There's a lot of people out there though that are hired guns that we all know that are just your general household names that everybody talks about. But a lot of these guys, they either win the whole race or they're out second round.
Yeah.
Shane's always in like 7th or 8th round. Yep. Always.
Yep. No, I agree. So Casey, do me one, and this is probably going to be a off cuff for you, but did you see any honorable mentions at this race? Anybody you want to shout out you thought was going to get it moving, might have pulled into the lanes wrong once or twice different?
Man, I don't know. That's hard to say. I am it's not really an honorable mention because he won one of the races, but I'm glad to see Nick Hastings back being Nick Hastings again, man. If you look through his stats for a Footbraker, I think his average light was like 10 or something like that whenever you look through all the rounds that he won that day that he won the race. So I'm glad to see Nick Hastings back out there, proving that he hadn't lost anything, man. He just hadn't been there. I think he had a kid. We know what that's like. We know how that slows your racing program down. And Nick Hastings still, whenever he shows up, he's still the man. Yep. He's still the man.
That's definitely true. It was a hard track to be racing at, is all I got to say. Honorable mention wise, it seemed as if a few rounds didn't go his way. Not just because he's a Texas boy, he's a Texas young boy. You guys keep this name in your mind when I say it, because I've said it once before. I'm just going to say it again. Bodie Bennett is going to be hard to deal with in a few. Give him about another year. Everybody's going to know who I'm talking about. I've seen him in the Camaro going rounds. I've seen him in the Dragster going rounds. So, hey, that's my honorable mention. You heard it here. I know he's a Texas boy. He's a pretty good guy there. No, I know his dad, Brian, pretty well. Watch out for Bodie Bennett, man. Watch out.
Dude, this is a good comment in the chat, too. Old Racer says, I was surprised not to see Antron Brown's kid out there. And to be honest with you, I was, too, because he did so good at TB's race, right? He won that 50K or whatever they had. He won that race. I was very surprised about that, too. So I wonder if maybe he had school, or maybe Antron. I know Antron was racing. I think his car might have broken half actually last weekend or the weekend prior. So obviously he was racing, but I was surprised about that too, man, because I figured Anson would be out there since, they're in Brownsburg, so it's not terrible far away. But with how good he did at that race at that track, I'm very surprised he wasn't there as well. So they must have had something come up.
That's a pretty good call out right there, Casey. Especially coming off of a win at that track, not being very far away from it. That's a shocker. I bet you he won't miss it next year, though. I almost guarantee.
No, absolutely not. I mean, he's obviously a threat.
Obviously, I'm gonna be a threat there next year too. Y'all watch. I'm gonna get my ducks in a row. Should have been there this year, as my dad would like to tell everybody.
So, as far as looking forward here, George, we got SFG at Rockingham, 30-60-30 for $650.
Yep.
Which is going to include foot brake, which I totally forgot about, capped at 200 entries, 5 and 2 10s, I believe. And then, actually, I want to say Rockingham might have drag week there today. So they'll have some super fast cars driving in. I think they were at Darlington today and going to Rockingham or vice versa. And then we got Staging Lights race, the October Fast Nationals in Ohio. 10-20-10 for $400. So, I mean, I assume that SFG, probably both of them are on Motor Mania, but SFG's warm-up race starts tomorrow. So what do you expect to see at that?
Hey, honestly, this is a well-positioned race because next week is the Fall Fling.
Right.
And so I know several racers who are on the road, and that's a good call out too. Oktoberfest at Edgewater. I think my dad's going to that, KG. Broke a lifter in the Corvette. Otherwise, I think he'd have been tough to deal with for the weekend as well. Knowing that track the way they do, and that car running as consistent as it was, he was going to be tough to deal with. But I think he's pulling out the 24 Dragster, brand new Dragster coming off the jig, I do believe, and going to Oktoberfest at Edgewater this weekend. So a lot of big racing going on. As far as for SFG, I feel like Rockingham ain't very far from Bristol. And I feel like a lot of people are going to make that stop. I know that some are probably going to go to Charlotte. I think Charlotte's this week. And
well, if it was this week or last week, I can't remember.
Well, I feel like something's going on there, and there's going to be some racing going on there, too, as far as for NHRA kind of class racing. There's going to be some racers to stop by and run that event as well. SFG's probably going to be packed up pretty good there, man, with the foot brake going on for $650 to run for $120,000. That's just on the top, So there's quite a bit they're going to be able to watch. And then you got Michael Beard. You say Michael Beard's race is next week?
This week.
This week as well. So I mean,
Ohio. There's
plenty of racing going on. That's all I got to tell you.
And like you said, I actually just looked it up on Google Maps here. Rockingham to Bristol is 250 miles. So anybody. That's nothing for a lot of these traveling racers, man. And there's a lot of those big money bracket racers in this Carolina area, and I'm sure they'll all be going to Rockingham. And I know for a fact a lot of them are going to Bristol. I think even old Quez the Duck might be heading to Bristol actually to now that I think about it. So, I mean, there's a lot of the crowd heading up there to Bristol, and I think it's just too convenient to hit. Rockingham just got repaved. First 800 feet of the track, I want to say, got repaved. So
yeah,
it's a great time to be there. Like I said, I want to say Drag Week's there right now.
and we are going to be on Motor Mania too. So that's
cool.
I'd like to get a good look at that track, and looks like my wish is going to come true this weekend. I haven't seen it since it's been repaved. Things of that nature. They put a lot of stuff down. So, no, Casey, it's going to be a pretty eventful weekend. One way or the other, you're going to have some drag racing to watch. There's a lot going on. So, tune in. Get ready for next Tuesday. What you got before we get out of here?
Man, just wanted to tell everybody that this weekend, long as the rain stays away, which it's still early in the week, so you know how that all goes. It was supposed to rain Saturday and Sunday. Now it says only Saturday, so it's getting a little better. Maybe it'll rain Friday, or maybe it'll rain Sunday. But Roger Rhodes at Kinston, for all you foot brake racers that think everybody forgot about you this weekend, if you're not going to Rockingham, go to Kinston. We got $25 entry, $2,000 to win. You'll see it back here on the back screen here in a couple minutes. But $25 entry fee, $2,000 to win, $800 runner-up. I want to say $400 to semi. And these are all off the top of my head. I don't have a flyer up in front of me. But like I said, Eric Amon, one of the main promoters on there. Congratulations to him, by the way, for winning the Galat Motorsports Park Top ET Championship. He's been chasing that for a long time.
Nice.
Locked that up, was actually really close to winning foot brake also in his other car. But yeah, man, great race. I think all of the proceeds from the race go to, I want to say, the Falcon Children's Home. Literally 100% of it goes to that. Purse is guaranteed. Like I said, $25 entry fee, foot brake only. So let's go out there and have a good time this weekend, as long as that rain stays away. And, great cause that it's going to, too. So not only does it have a great payout, it's got a great cause, got a lot of round prizes being given out. Ourselves, along with North Carolina Bracket Racing, Lorenzo Martin, giving out some money for, I want to say Eric said we're doing it for best reaction time every round or best package every round.
Nice.
You need some stickers. I'll have a whole bunch of stickers there. Other than that, we're going to try to do some vlogging out there. I know Bryce is in here talking about he's going to do some vlogging out there. Champ will do some vlogging. Got a GoPro myself now coming, so we can do some vlogging myself. So
nice.
We should have a good one for everybody coming up.
Nice. Oh, but hey, again, we appreciate everybody who. There's a lot of new faces out there. I can see them. A lot of people really stepped in and started to like and share the OGBR post on the results from the OG Million. Thank you very much for that. Thanks for continuing to watch us. And if you ain't got nothing going on next Tuesday, because you know that's when we're going to see you, come on, join us back for another episode. But until then, exactly that. See you guys next Tuesday. Thanks for joining us.